Good afternoon, everybody. We are the Texas Department of Information Resources, or DIR, as we are commonly referred to. And we're going to spend the next hour or so as part of your class talking about purchasing methods and how they apply in the world of IT and with state procurement rules as well. So we're going to talk about some of the products and services that DIR has available to you, our eligible customers. And we'll talk about our cooperative contracts program, our shared technology services. We are responsible for a statewide data program. We are responsible for texas.gov for the constituents of the state of Texas. We also handle policy and planning for the state of Texas, as well as telecom products and services, and of course, information security. Keeping the state safe is also part of the products and services that DIR has available to you, our customers, and to the state of Texas. I'm your presenter. My name is Tom Hay, and I have been with the state of Texas for 13 years, a little over 10 and a half years at DIR, and I'm responsible for outreach and training to both our vendor and customer communities. And in my time here, I've worked in our contract services. I've also managed cooperative contracts for the agency and also shared technology services contracts for the agency as well. Our agenda this afternoon, we're going to cover some statutes for procurement methods. We will talk about our shared technology services, our cooperative contracts processes, and the products and services available to you there. We'll talk about some purchasing thresholds and services as they pertain to the IT world. We'll cover some thresholds, we'll cover some statement of work highlights, and we'll leave you with some resources. And if you have questions, we have answers, and I will provide our contact information at the end of our presentation today. So let's start with talking about some statutes for procurement methods. First of all, DIR is a state agency, and we were created in 1989, and we serve as the Chief Information Office for the state of Texas. And it's Texas Government Code 2157.068 that does require state agencies to purchase hardware, software, and technology services through DIR's cooperative contracts. Now, that government code applies specifically to state agencies to utilize DIR first, but all of you in the class today are eligible to procure through our cooperative contract offerings. And Texas Government Code 2157.068 also puts some definitions to the IT world. So it is hardware, software, and technology services that are defined as commercial software, hardware, or technology services other than telecom, for which DIR determines that a reasonable demand exists from two or more customers. And that includes also things like seat management. And an example of seat management would be, let's say your institution brings in a vendor to manage your computer system for, say, a period of 3 years or 4 years. During the term of that agreement, the vendor would bring in all the hardware, the software, and the supporting services for the term of your agreement, manage all of that for you, and then at the end of the agreement, that equipment goes back to the vendor. So that's an example of seat management. It's also commonly known as end user IT outsourcing. And then it's Texas Government Code Chapter 2170 that does require state agencies to purchase telecom services through DIR. We are the state agency responsible for obtaining telecommunication services for the state. And again, while that code specifically applies to state agencies, all of you in the class today are eligible to procure telecom services through our contract offerings. Couple of things to know about the DIR method of procurement is that it is the request for offer method that is used to procure AIS, or automated information systems, and information technology services. You may often hear RFPs, RFQs, RFIs, but it's the RFO method used to procure IT products and services. All of our DIR contracts are awarded in accordance with statute as set forth by the Texas legislature, so we do follow the competitive bid process. And in our cooperative contracts, that allows you, our customers, then to order directly with that DIR vendor by issuing your PO directly to them with their DIR contract number referenced on your purchase order. You can also reference the Procurement and Contract Management Guide for additional information on procurement methods as they pertain through the legislature and through government code. So those classification codes with that AIS component are noted with an asterisk in the NIGP commodity code book. So if you search and you find an asterisk by a commodity code description and you see that little asterisk, that's your first clue that it's going to be an IT related procurement that you will be doing. And those categories with that AIS designation, then state agency contract developers and other state agency purchasing professionals are required to use DIR contracts first. And then if you have any questions about those commodity codes, if you see some that should have an asterisk or some that have an asterisk and you're not sure that they should, you can reach out to either DIR or the Comptroller's office and we can have that discussion with you. So if you can take DIR and split it into kind of 4 basic categories, this is what the pie chart would look like. And I'll start in the upper right-hand corner with our cooperative contracts. This may be the area where most of you are familiar with DIR. This is the do-it-yourself or the self-service model of IT purchasing, where you, our customers, can go directly to our DIR vendors and purchase your hardware or software items. It includes our DBIT services or deliverables-based IT services contracts. It includes our staffing services contracts. And then it also gives us the opportunity then from time to time to initiate bulk purchasing initiatives where certain IT products and services are offered at yet deeper discounts as compared to the regular contracted rate. And I'll talk a little bit more about our bulk purchasing initiatives here in a little bit during our presentation. Communications is another big area for DIR. We are responsible for the Capitol Complex telephone system for agencies that work around the Capitol, as well as the Capitol building itself. We also provide internet and network operations for the state of Texas and make sure that those services are available to you, our customers. And then, of course, security operations, keeping the state safe, is also a big area that DIR is responsible for as well. Then our shared technology services, this is kind of on the opposite side of co-op where you do it yourself. Under our shared technology services, these do require an agreement with DIR, but we have negotiated contracts and put them in place with vendors for things like data center services. That includes things like the public and private cloud offerings. It includes the texas.gov portal. So if you've been on texas.gov to say renew your auto registration, the texas.gov portal is a responsibility of DIR. We also have the open data portal, which is the official state repository of publicly available electronic data. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And then security services are also available to you, our customers, through our shared technology services as well. Our policy and planning area, we do that IT strategic planning for the state of Texas. What is that for the next year? And then what is it for the next 3 years, 5 years down the road, doing that more long-term strategic plan. We also provide IT standards for the state of Texas, as well as be a resource to you, our customers, to help you set IT standards for your entities. And then, of course, we always are busy reporting on the state of technology to the legislature as well. So who are DIR's eligible customers? Well, Texas state agencies and institutions of higher ed, there's about 183 eligible entities. Local governments, there's over 6,200 plus. That includes local governments like city and county governments, school districts, municipalities, junior colleges, and special purpose districts. And then there's other organizations who are also eligible to procure, including assistance organizations as defined by the Comptroller's office, ERCOT, LCRA, private schools, and private and independent institutions of higher ed, volunteer fire departments, public safety entities like 911 centers, hospitals. We all know that the medical industry carries a high degree of IT about it anymore. And then through an agreement with DIR, we do have several public entities outside of Texas who, through that agreement, are able to procure IT products and services through our cooperative contracts. That includes out-of-state entities like state agencies, institutions of higher ed, local governments, and school districts located outside Texas. So let's take a deeper dive into our shared technology services offerings. And again, these do require an agreement with DIR in order for us to provide those services for you, our customers. But this slide here kind of gives you an idea of how our shared technology services are modeled or how they're set up. So our eligible customers include Texas state agencies, institutions of local government, K through 12 school districts, and institutions of higher ed within the state of Texas. And we have negotiated a contract with a multi-sourcing services integrator, or an MSI, and that vendor is Capgemini. And they're responsible for the overall program and the vendors and the services that those vendors provide through our shared technology services offerings. So Capgemini is responsible for the marketplace and service management, the business and operations management, and also the customer relationship management aspects. And then the specific services that are offered through our shared technology services include our data center services, and I'm going to go into more detail in these here in just a minute. It includes the texas.gov portal, it includes managed security services, and it also includes the open data portal. So those are the services available through our shared technology services setup. So let's look specifically at our data center services offerings. Again, we've got Capgemini kind of acting as the overall program manager, and SIAC is the vendor who is charged with keeping the data center safe. So they're always doing things that are security related to make sure it's kept safe by identifying active threats, handling security incidences, event management in the areas of security, just making sure that the data center is kept safe. Deloitte has a contract offering technology solution services, which covers things like technology planning, reference architecture, solution consulting, and project delivery. Deloitte also has a contract available for application services. And that includes things like application development and maintenance and support as well. It includes legacy modernization and also staff augmentation services. Private cloud functions, that vendor is Atos, and pretty self-explanatory. They handle private cloud services through our shared technology services offerings. The public cloud manager, that vendor is Rackspace, and they offer services like Amazon Web Services, Azure, and Google services. Other services include things like email and Office 365, as well as other geographic information systems and other managed cloud services. The vendor providing mainframe services is Atos, and pretty self-explanatory. They provide services to our customers who utilize mainframes in their IT setups. And then our print mail functions, that vendor is Xerox, and they handle things like bulk mailings and managed print mail, digitization, document management, things like that for you, our eligible customers. Texas.gov. So again, we've got Capgemini acting as the overall program manager. There are two vendors who actually handle these services for Texas.gov. One of them is Deloitte, and they're responsible for the constituent payment portal, the Texas by Texas digital assistant, which allows people to do a one-time sign-on to do business with the state of Texas. Also, they do the other services, including statewide internet portal, handling that, and also marketing and advertising for Texas.gov. So, for example, if you go on to Texas.gov to say renew your auto registration, as you are clicking through Texas.gov, ordering those services that you need, that part is all designed and handled and managed by Deloitte. But when you go to enter your credit card information to pay for those services that you just purchased, that part is handled by Texas NIC or Texas NIC. So they're responsible for the payment processing of constituents' payments, also making sure that payment is compliant and that it is then routed to the state accounting system through the Comptroller's office and gets to the appropriate accounts. Our managed security services. Again, we've got Capgemini acting as the program manager, and AT&T is the vendor who handles the managed security services functions for our customers. And there's several different categories here that AT&T offers, including things like security monitoring and device management, That there's several different services available there for you, our customers. Also, incident responses and compliance and risk services are available through this contract offering as well. So for example, you may remember that back in August of 2019, there were 23 counties in the state of Texas who were hit with ransomware. And through an agreement with DIR, we were able to step in with our vendor, AT&T, and help those counties get that ransomware attack removed from their system. So fortunately, no money ever changed hands or anything like that. But that is an example of how our managed security services are available to you, our customers, in the event that a risk or an attack would happen. The Texas Open Data Portal. This is a free service that is available to you, our customers, that you can go out and post publicly available electronic data to the Open Data Portal and make it readily available to the public. You will see that there are several different categories available for our customers to post data out to the Open Data Portal. For example, we post DIR, we post our cooperative contracts data from FY10 all the way through the current year. So you can go out under the business and economy section and actually see who's purchased what on DIR's cooperative contracts for the last 11 fiscal years now. And also another example is that for those of you located outside of Austin, Cap Metro is the bus service provider in downtown Austin, here in the city. And Cap Metro posted their bus schedule out on the Open Data Portal. There was a company who saw that schedule posted out there and took that data and wrote an app for it. So now customers can download that app that's updated every 15 seconds, and they can see if they need to run to their bus or if they can walk to their bus. So again, this is a free service. It's available to all of you, our eligible DIR customers. It can really help cut down on your public information requests. And then also we manage that data for you, so you don't have to manage it on your own websites. You can see there's a variety of different categories available, depending on if you're a state agency or a local agency, a local government or a school district or a higher ed. There are many different categories available for you to post electronic data out on the Open Data Portal. You'd like to know more about our shared technology services, we've included the links to several videos we posted on the DIR YouTube channel. These are about 3 or 4 minutes in length, and you can go out and watch these videos at your leisure to learn a little bit more about them. We've also provided the main link to the DIR YouTube channel, which covers other programs like exemption requests or statements of work or other areas of DIR that you might be interested in learning more about. So we invite you to visit the DIR YouTube channel for more information. Communications is another big area for DIR, and we do that and serve our customers in a couple of different ways. I'd mentioned the Capitol Complex telephone system previously. We are responsible for that. But we've also got Texan contracts or Texas Agency Network contracts that offer things like voice services, including local and long distance services. Also data offerings, and that includes internet services that are available for you to procure. And then there's other telecom services that include wireless and managed services as well. And this kind of slide kind of gives you a high level overview of what some of those other services include. Things like cell phones, wireless voice and data services, conferencing services that are part of an overall telecom solution. There are standalone conferencing services available through our cooperative contracts as well. And then other managed services include just a couple of points here, things like call center or contact center services, phone system management services for things like PBX or Jabber, as we have used that through the pandemic as we work remotely anymore as well. So this kind of gives you an overview of just kind of some of the telecom services that are available through DIR's contract offerings. So that kind of gives you an overview of our shared technology services, as well as our cooperative, as well as our telecom offerings. So let's switch gears a little bit here and talk about our cooperative contracts, where this is the do-it-yourself or the self-service model, where you, our customers, can go purchase certain hardware and software items that your entity needs in the way of IT. Also, other contracts include technology training, technology services. It includes our staffing and VBITS contracts. It includes more about our bulk purchase initiatives. And also it includes for state agencies, the statement of work and exemption review processes. And we'll talk a little bit more about both of those here in just a little bit as well. So what are the benefits of utilizing DIR's cooperative contracts? Well, they create savings. We leverage that state's buying power to get the lowest prices and the best discounts that we can get from our vendors and pass those savings on to you. So we're always containing best value. And then again, it gives us time once in a while to initiate bulk purchase plans for certain items that may be in very, very high demand by our customers. For example, let's say that we know that HHSC needs to buy 1,000 new computers. And we also know that Dallas County needs to buy 1,000 new computers. We're going to take that information back to our computer vendors who hold contracts with us and say, you know, we've identified a bulk purchase need in the way of computers, and we would like to initiate a bulk purchase initiative with that vendor. The bulk purchase initiatives offer deeper discounts on certain items above and beyond the regular contracted rate. So let's say, for example, that a Dell laptop is currently 25% off of MSRP on the Dell contract. But under a bulk purchase initiative, if there's one in place with Dell, that Dell laptop might be offered at 40% off of MSRP, but it's only going to be for a certain amount of time. It's kind of what we call our Kmart blue light specials. They only run for periods of, say, 3 months or 6 months or 9 months, whatever we negotiate with those vendors. And a couple of the nice things about the bulk purchase initiatives is that the purchasing thresholds do not apply to state agencies. And then all of you, our eligible customers, can make purchases through those bulk purchase initiatives when we have those in place. And you can buy one item on that bulk purchase initiative, or you can buy 1,000 items on that bulk purchase initiative. So though it's really a benefit to pay attention when we've got certain bulk purchase initiatives in place, because they can create additional savings for your entities as well. Another benefit of the cooperative contracts is that it streamlines the purchasing process. We've already done that heavy lifting for you. We've negotiated the contracts and put them in place for you to use, so it reduces the purchasing and contract cycle time and also reduces duplicate efforts because you don't have to do the procurement now. It also gives you access to do business with our hub vendors, our hub prime contract holders, and also hub resellers that are available on prime contract holders' contracts. There's also benefits for the vendors. It simplifies the sales processes for them. They're required to report to us once a month what they sell on their DIR contracts and who they sold it to, what price they sold it at what discount, if they used any resellers or subcontractors. And then it also gives our vendors access to do business with public entities like the state, like local governments and with school districts. And then last year, our cooperative contracts generated over $2.7 billion in sales in FY21. And this slide here kind of gives you a breakdown of what that spending looked like in FY21. State agencies made up about 23.3% of that eligible spending. But you'll see that local governments and K through 12 made up about 60% of that spending, simply because that there are more local governments and school districts in Texas than there are state agencies. Higher ed made up about 14.4%, and then assistance organizations and out-of-state entities made up about 3% of that spending. And a couple of interesting notes here is that of that $2.7 billion in spending, that generated down into $409 million in savings to the state of Texas and to you, our customers. And also about 34% of that $2.7 billion was spent with our hub vendors, which is a very high percentage of spending with our hub vendors. So thank you very much for spending with our hub vendors. This slide here kind of gives you a high-level overview of the types of products that are available through our cooperative contract offerings. It's not an all-inclusive list, but more meant to give you an overall high-level view of some of the types of products that are available, different brands and types of computers, hundreds of different brands of software, things like classroom interactive products that focus on hardware and software for learning environments. body cameras, drones, other surveillance cameras. So this list is always changing. For example, we're getting ready to add artificial intelligence products and services to our offerings very soon. So again, this kind of gives you just a high level overview of the types of products that are available through our cooperative contracts. Also, many different services available through our cooperative contracts as well, and that includes things like our staffing services, technology-based training, that includes instructor-led training. I talked about seat management earlier. Other things include like cybersecurity services, comprehensive web development. Also, telecommunication products and services are available through co-op contracts as well. That includes also things like video conferencing, web conferencing, as we've all become familiar with Zoom and WebEx and Teams and other conferencing tools in the last couple of years. So lots of different services available through our contract offerings as well. Our staffing services are also available for you, our customers, to utilize our ITSAC, or Information Technology Staffing Augmentation contracts. These provide for temporary IT staffing services. So maybe you've got some IT needs at your entities and you don't have somebody on staff to do that. The set of staffing services contracts is a perfect opportunity to bring somebody in to do that IT contracting work for you. This slide here kind of shows you the categories that are available and the different positions that our customers can utilize with our vendors through our staffing services and those vendors that provide staffing services. And one of the recent ones that we just resolicited and refreshed these set of contracts last year, we added internships, where we work in conjunction with Austin Community College, who can then work in conjunction with other institutions of higher education and provide internships for entities that are interested in offering that. So again, just want to mention that there are staffing services contracts available for your entities should you need those services. And then our DBIT services. These are deliverables-based IT services contracts that provide services only to you, our customers, for different sets of categories that you may need IT services for. And that includes things like application development, maintenance and support, maybe technology upgrade services, data management, data warehousing, maybe IT assessments, planning, things like that, or project management from an IT perspective. So the way these DBITS contracts works is that instead of a product-based contract, these are a project-based contract. So the DBITS contracts work off of a statement of work as the scope of the project, rather than an itemized price list that you would see if you were buying hardware or software. So the product contracts is where you could buy your hardware and software, but the DBITS contracts only offer services. So you can't procure hardware or software through the DBITS contracts. But again, these are more project-based contracts than they are product-based. So keep that in mind as you're looking at the DBITS contracts for possible use of services by your entities. A little bit more about our bulk purchase agreements. I've kind of touched on this a couple of times. The one we've got in place right now is for Adobe Sign. So that is being offered as a bulk purchase initiative. You can view that on the DIR website. I've included the link to the bulk purchasing page on the DIR website. And invite you to check this link frequently, because we are changing all the time what bulk purchase agreements that we have in place, which ones expire and we have now taken down. But you'll see from time to time that we'll put some in place maybe for hardware products, and that could include things like computers, or we might do ones for software, or for various product and related services like security products and services. So keep an eye on this page. And again, the one we've got in place right now is for software with Adobe Sign. But we're always updating these and trying to put them in place from time to time for you, our customers, to take advantage of. And again, a couple of the benefits is that for state agencies, the purchasing thresholds don't apply. And the bulk purchase initiatives are open to all of you, our eligible customers. And you can buy one item on the bulk purchase initiative, or you can buy 500 or 1,000 items on bulk purchase initiatives. And all the procurement documents are associated with each bulk purchase agreement as you look at it on the DIR website. You can see all of those documents that you will need to procure through a bulk purchase initiative. So on our cooperative contract documents, once you pull up that vendor's contract, you're going to see common elements that are associated with that DIR contract. That will include the contract document itself, which will also include any exceptions that were negotiated when that contract was awarded. It will include the Appendix A standard terms and conditions. It will include the Appendix B hub subcontracting plan. And keep in mind that vendors can update that plan at any time during the term of their DIR contract or the life of their DIR contract as far as that goes. You will also see the Appendix C pricing index, or you will see a statement of work attached as the Appendix C pricing index. For a product-based contract, for a pricing index, you will see the brands offered and the percent discount off of those brands. For a services-based contract, such as DBITS or seat management or end user IT outsourcing, instead of a pricing index, you'll see the statement of work template attached as the Appendix C. So it's going to depend on the scope of contract that you're utilizing, whether you'll see a pricing index or a statement of work attached. You will also see attached any other appendices as they are needed. You might see a services agreement. You might see a master operating lease agreement or a MOLA. You might see a statement of work attached in addition to a pricing index. There are some contracts that require a statement of work for the services part, but you will be able to make the commodity purchase through the pricing index. You will also see all the amendments attached to that DIR contract as well, in addition to the actual advertised request for offer that we published to advertise for vendor responses and award that DIR contract under. So we invite you to use that contract page as a resource for downloading all your contract documents for your procurement file. Couple of things to remember on our cooperative contracts is that survivability is built into our DIR contracts. So you can issue a purchase order to the DIR vendor as long as you issue that PO before that DIR contract expires. So for example, let's say you've got a 1-year initial term with 3 1-year renewal options, but yet you see that that DIR contract expires on December 1st of this year, and there are no renewal options remaining on that DIR contract. It's okay. You can still go ahead and issue your full purchase order to that vendor because survivability will allow it to play out in full, even if that DIR contract expires. Because we might be over here on the backside working a new DIR contract with that vendor, but things could be different under that new contract. It could have different pricing or different terms and conditions. Or the other issue is maybe that vendor won't get a replacement contract. So it's important to remember that you can issue POs to our vendors before their DIR contract expires, but that vendor has to still keep reporting to us under that expired contract. They can't just switch everything over to a new contract if they get a new contract with us. Also, be aware of any areas where vendors seek to vary from the DIR terms. We do allow you, our customers, to further negotiate additional terms and conditions with our vendors, provided they don't diminish or conflict with DIR's contract terms and conditions. So for example, you might have CJIS requirements or HIPAA requirements, or you need additional acceptance criteria or additional insurance requirements. It's okay to do all of those as long as they don't conflict with or diminish DIR's contract terms. And also remember that our contract terms have priority over almost all vendor documents. There are some exceptions for third-party license agreements, but if you're being asked to sign a form by a vendor and you don't see it attached as an official contract document, reach out to us because we can answer those questions or give you some direction on whether you should sign that agreement or not. Okay, I want to cover a couple of quick searching tips on the DIR website. And you may know that back in September, we launched a new DIR website with a lot of enhancements on it. And when we redesigned the website last year, we took into account trying to make it more simple for our customers and trying to classify things a little bit better. We also took into account our vendor community and tried to enhance some search functions and find information that vendors can find easily or a little bit more easily on the DIR website as well. So when you look at the new DIR website, you'll notice that there is a ribbon at the top that is a standard ribbon on each DIR webpage, and it includes things like IT solutions and services, policy and guidance. We have a resource library, and there's also a drop-down function that starts with IMA. And when you click on that, you'll be able to choose whether I'm a state agency, I'm a local government, I'm a school district, I'm an assistance organization, and then be taken to certain items that would pertain to your type of entity. So that's another function. And of course, we've got the search DIR function available as well. So let's look at a quick example of the IT solutions and services dropdown. There are two tabs here, one for categories that you can go out and go to certain categories if you're looking for cloud services or DBIT services or IT staffing contracts or hardware, software, branded contracts. There are different categories that you can choose under the category functions once you click on this tab on the IT solutions and services dropdown. Again, that'll take you to the specific area that you might be looking for, or at least get headed into the right direction if you're looking for hardware products or software products on the DIR website. The other tab that's available here is program areas that is located next to categories. And if you're looking for certain program areas within DIR, whether it's cooperative contracts, or maybe you're a chief information security officer, or you're looking for texas.gov information, there are certain program areas that are also available where you can click on those links and go right to those services for more information on the program area that you might be looking for. And in this example here, this is the example of the IMA. Once you click on that little down arrow, you'll be taken to a list of certain types of customer communities that we have. So whether you're a local government or a data officer or an information security officer or an institution of higher ed, or you're a vendor, you can click on any one of those links and be taken to certain pages that pertain specifically to your type of entity that you may be looking for information on. So we want to run through a couple of quick slides. If you happen to be looking for contracts and vendors, or maybe you're wanting to search DIR for certain contracts or certain brands or certain vendors that may be a contract holder with DIR, when you click on the search by drop-down arrow here, you're given the options to search by all, or a certain product or service, a specific contract number, a vendor name, or even a commodity code. So in this example that we're going to run through, we're going to search by all. And let's say we're looking for some keywords here in products or services that contain cabling services. Excuse me. Maybe you need to bring in a vendor to do cabling services for a new building. So you can type in the keywords here of cabling services. And then once you click the search button over to the right of your search criteria, you're going to return results here. Make sure you're still clicked on the contract and vendor results here, because this is where we were searching previously. You don't want all pages and content because that will give you thousands of results. So make sure you're on the contract and vendor results. Also, word of caution or a word of advice, make sure you're clicked on contracts here, because if you get all results or contracts, you're going to get many different results coming back to you, and you don't want all those results. Okay, so in this example, we've returned a result for 29 vendors for cabling services, which are the keywords that we inserted into our original search criteria. There are certain other filters here that you can narrow down your searches in by categories or brands or vendor hub types or commodity codes. So on these next few slides, we're going to narrow down, show you where you can narrow down to categories within your search criteria. You can also clear that filter if you didn't want cabling services. If you want to narrow down by brands that are available through cabling services, you can also narrow down by that as well. You can also narrow down by commodity codes if you want to narrow your search down a little bit further. You can also further narrow down whether you want to deal with hub or non-hub vendors on your search criteria as well. So in our example then, we've typed in cabling services under contract and vendor results. We want to make sure we're looking for contracts. And you want to make sure that the expired contracts button is off, because that's more for if you need older material for maybe procurements you've done in the past, you can look for expired contracts. You can also download the results of your search criteria into an Excel document and take a look at the results in an Excel sheet. And that looks like this right here. It shows you the vendor name, the vendor contract number. It gives you a contract overview, and we've kind of slidden that column in because it's very, very long. It also shows you additional information about the vendor, whether they're a hub or a non-hub. It gives you the vendor contact information as well. And you'll notice in this example that Electrolink is listed multiple times. That is because there are resellers available on that Electrolink contract. So you can contact the resellers, and you can also see if those resellers are hubs or non-hubs, and have that reseller contact information for you available as well. I want to talk briefly about the DIR exemption process. So exemptions are utilized. These apply to state agencies specifically. And exemptions are utilized when a state agency wants to procure an IT item outside of a DIR contract or service. And that can include things that we have in place for things like blanket exemptions. I'll show you the list here of what we have in place for blanket exemptions in a second. It also includes our one-time exemptions if you need to make a purchase and it's not available on a DIR contract. And then you'll need to do an exemption if you want to use a purchase through a local cooperative. I believe there's one in Houston that some people use. And just a reminder that even you might be exempt from using cooperative contracts. It may be possible you'll need to consider requesting other exemptions if you're using data center services or the telecom program or the Texas.gov program as well. So just keep that in mind, that there's cooperative contract exemptions as well as other possible exemptions through our other programs as well. There's an exemption overview on the DIR website, and we have included the link to that exemption page where you can go out and read a little bit more further in depth on the exemption process that, again, does apply only to state agencies. This does not pertain to our other voluntary customers who utilize DIR contracts for your IT procurements. We do have certain blanket exemptions in place where that you can make these procurements because we do have that blanket exemption in place for certain things like critical need or maybe software maintenance or subscription services, or things like fire protection equipment and systems. It's okay for you to go out and procure those because there are exemptions in place as a blanket exemption. What you would need to do is print out this page on the DIR website, use that as documentation that we have identified that there is a blanket exemption in place for you to do your procurement. You also do have an exemption in place if you are a state agency and you do need to do an IT procurement for an item that is under $5,000. So you can use that exemption if that IT item is under $5,000. Use that blanket exemption to go out and make that procurement. You don't need to do that through a DIR contract. Also a reminder that the maximum threshold amount is $10 million. So if a maximum, if a contract value is over $10 million in value, state agencies would need to do that their own procurement through the correct procurement avenues. One thing to consider is that if you do have a large procurement, you might want to consider a bulk purchase initiative with us. We can certainly share that information with our vendors, and maybe as a possibility, look at working that into a bulk purchase instead, because remember, under bulk purchases, purchasing thresholds do not apply. So for one-time exemptions, if your agency does need to submit a one-time exemption request, you're going to complete and submit an exemption request form. That's available through the DIR portal. Some of the justifications for that include things like cost. Maybe you found it cheaper and you weren't able to negotiate a better cost through our DIR vendor. Maybe there are certain terms and conditions that are restricting your purchase that you need to do an exemption for. Or maybe funding source restrictions, or maybe we just don't have it on a DIR contract, or maybe it's proprietary. So these are the justifications that you will use when you submit your one-time exemption request to DIR in order to get that exemption approved through DIR's process. Remember that exemptions, we have 15 business days to process those exemptions. However, if it's an expedited exemption request, you must include that in your request form, and we can process those within 3 business days. However, those must include a statement from your agency head or his or her designee and describe the reason for the expedited exemption request when you enter that in. You will enter the exemption by clicking the sign-in box on the DIR homepage. And once you click in that sign-in box, you'll be taken to a couple of different portals. And the one that you're going to want to click on for exemptions is called the Exemption Request Portal. And again, this is for state agency customers only. And once you click on that, you'll be taken to the login box where you can enter your username and password. If you don't have login credentials yet, you can click on the Need a Login, and that will send a message to our security team to get you credentials to use the Exemption Request Portal on the DIR website. So once you enter that, you will receive a confirmation email back from DIR that will show you the assigned waiver number. It will show you the date the waiver was created and submitted to DIR, the category on the waiver. And remember that exemptions can either be approved or denied. They may also be withdrawn. If you decide that you don't need it, or maybe you found it and you need to withdraw it, you can also do that as well. And remember that agencies should wait for DIR to respond before you proceed with your procurement. So once you submit that exemption request to us, make sure that you hear back from DIR on the status of it before you proceed ahead with doing your procurement. If you don't see what you need to purchase, fill out that new product and service request form, because chances are if you're looking for it, somebody else might be looking for it as well. So let us know if you don't find it, and we can certainly do our due diligence to get that available. A reminder that Texas Government Code does require state agencies to purchase hardware, software, and technology services through our contracts. If you can't find it, that's where the exemption review process will come into play for state agencies, and making sure that you file those with DIR. There's also a video posted out on the DIR YouTube channel where you can learn more about the exemption process as well. I want to cover a couple of quick purchasing threshold reminders. And again, these apply to Texas state agencies only. These are effective February 10th. And this changed in the last legislative session from initial contract term to total contract value. So a reminder for state agencies that if your total contract value is up to $50,000, you can award directly to the DIR cooperative contract vendor or reseller of your choice. If it's over $50,000 but does not exceed $1 million, then you have to submit requests for pricing to at least 3 DIR vendors or resellers in the applicable category. So if you're requesting pricing for radios, make sure you're in the category of vendors that are offering radios. If it's over $1 million but does not exceed $5 million, then you have to submit requests for pricing to at least 6 DIR vendors or resellers in the applicable category. If it's over $5 million but does not exceed $10 million, then Texas state agencies have the option of utilizing DIR's cooperative contracts for that procurement, but you must submit requests for pricing to at least 6 DIR vendors or resellers in the category. And a reminder, if it exceeds $10 million, then you cannot enter into a contract through DIR. You would need to then do that procurement through your own procurement methods. Remember that threshold requirements do not apply to our voluntary customers. They do only apply to state agencies. The statement of work review process, I want to remind everybody that there are certain sets of contracts that DIR has in place that require a statement of work be used instead of an itemized price list. And these are typically service-based contracts and include these categories here: our DBITS contracts, our end user IT outsourcing or seat management, IT security services, cloud services when a statement of work is executed for that services, comprehensive web development, document imaging and enterprise content management, and also very complex projects. If you're doing integrations or customizations, and it's one of those very large, complicated projects, you may want to consider utilizing a statement of work as well. But also a reminder that under TAC Code 212, that state agencies are required to submit statements of work to DIR for approval prior to solicitation and prior to contract award for statements of work over $50,000 that do fall into this set of categories here. This does not apply to things like just hardware or just software or other services, but does apply to this set of services or the set of DIR contracts when a statement of work is being utilized and it's over $50,000 in value and you are a state agency. There are templates available on the DIR website, as well as available under those certain category project contracts where a statement of work is utilized for the Appendix C. Cybersecurity training requirements. This affects all of us who work in government of some sort or another. Texas Government Code Section 2054.519, state certified cybersecurity training programs that required DIR in consultation with the Texas Cybersecurity Council to certify at least 5 cybersecurity training programs. We've gotten many more in place now above the 5 that we were required to put in place. So there are many more available now. And the cybersecurity training is applicable to state and local employees, institutions of higher education, to a certain degree school districts, and also state contractors. So it affects contracts that were awarded on or renewed as of June 14th, 2019. So it was signed into effect immediately when the governor signed the bill. And it's important to remember that any contractors that have access to a state computer system or databases must complete a certified training program and also provide that documentation to you that they have completed the required cybersecurity training program. Again, contractors that have access to state computer systems or databases need to complete that training. We've also included the link to the DIR website. If you want additional information on cybersecurity training, you can feel free to visit that link at your leisure. Maximizing hub on your DIR contracts. So it's important to remember to have a copy of the most current HSP form in your procurement file. Again, vendors can update those at any point during the term of their DIR contracts or during the life of their DIR contracts. So they can add or remove resellers or subcontractors at any point. It's important that your hub coordinators seek clarification on that HSP for what subcontractors will the vendor use and what dollar amounts and percentages will be utilized in that procurement. Make sure that that vendor is submitting a monthly progress assessment report or a PAR to you. And it's important to make sure your hub coordinator receives a copy of that PAR, because for state agencies and institutions of higher education, hub coordinators are required to report to the LBB twice a year on their hub spending. And a lot of that information comes from that PAR report. Reminder that any subcontractors not on the HSP for that vendor will need to be added before they can be utilized or before work can begin. And our contracts do have hub goals that follow the state Comptroller's guide. For other services, it's 26%, and for commodities, it's 21.1%. If you have any questions on hub, feel free to reach out to our hub team. We've included the email address More than happy to answer any questions you might have. Reminder, the hub form is always Appendix D on the DIR contract vendors page. If you don't see it listed there, reach out to us. It could be that one's currently being updated and just hasn't been uploaded yet, or it could be a new contract that hasn't been uploaded yet. So let us know if you don't see that. We can track that down for you. There is wording in our contract terms and conditions that requires vendors to follow the reporting standards as set forth in their contract. So just want to make you aware that there is wording available in the standard terms and conditions that vendors do need to follow from a reporting standpoint. So if you do receive a PAR and you've identified a subcontractor that is on the PAR that is not on the vendor's hub form, it's important to stop and not pay that vendor, because that vendor needs to bring their hub form into compliance with DIR and their contract terms and conditions. So that vendor needs to update their hub form. Once that's done, then work can continue and payment can then proceed. So just keep an eye on that, that if you're identifying subcontractors and the vendor does not have them on their HSP, that vendor is non-compliant. They need to bring their hub form into compliance. And finally, we leave you with some DIR resources. There is information on the DIR website for vendors. If you're talking to a vendor and you ask them, do you have a DIR contract? And they say no, how do we get one? There is information on the DIR website. If they click on selling through DIR, they will be taken to a page on the DIR website where vendors can learn more about how to become a DIR vendor. They can see how to do business with DIR. They can see our schedule of solicitation opportunities. And if they're a hub business, there's an avenue for them to register their hub business with the state of Texas as well. Again, this explains how to do business with DIR. And on the schedule of solicitation opportunities page, vendors and yourselves can actually see our procurement schedule. And you can see everything that we've got in the planning stage all the way through what we've currently closed and are currently evaluating and negotiating. Once a solicitation is in the posting phase, that's when we are actively seeking vendor responses to our posted RFOs. So just want to make you aware that you can see these things, as well as the DIR vendor community can track these things on the DIR website as well. There are resources available to you. Utilize the DIR website. Check that schedule of solicitation opportunities. There's FAQs and webinars and templates available. Also, that request for technology products and services form. Let us know if you need certain things and they're not available. Utilize the open data portal. As I mentioned, we post our cooperative contract sales data from FY10 out to the current year. Also utilize your DIR contract manager. We're all intimately familiar with these contracts and can answer any questions you have along the way. And then we invite you to join our mailing list. And it's the IT Sourcing Digest that we recommend that you subscribe to. And this is a weekly publication that is sent to you, our DIR customers. And it talks about what new contracts we've awarded to vendors. What's going on in the procurement or legislative world as it affects procurements and contracting initiatives. It also tells you what contracts we've recently renewed or which ones have expired or have terminated at this point. So you can sign up for that IT Sourcing Digest by going to the DIR homepage. And if you scroll toward the bottom of the DIR homepage, you'll be taken to a few boxes. You can click on Sign Up for Communications. And once you click on that, you'll be taken to a list of different mailings that you can sign up for. And the one we're referencing here is the IT Sourcing Digest. And we invite you to remember to use your work email address, because we do not accept personal email addresses for that mailing list. We also want to remind you that Texas Senate Bill 475 through the last legislative session defined a need for a Texas Risk and Authorization Management Program, or TexRAM. This ensures that cloud services are secure for state government services that specifically apply to state agencies, institutions of higher education, and public junior colleges. We've posted a lot of information about TexRAMP out on the DIR website, and we've included that link for you here on this slide. You can also view a webinar that we posted for state agencies and higher ed that was held last November, and it explains a lot about the program and how it applies to you. So this affects any contracts or agreements as of January 1 of 2022. So any new contract awards or renewals or amendments will be affected by this if they are cloud services and if you are a state agency, an institution of higher ed, or a public junior college. So refer to the DIR website for more information on TexRAMP. And if you have specific questions about TexRAMP, we've included the email address to the TexRAMP team. We invite you to contact them. They're very good and timely about returning emails to customers and vendors who have questions about the TexRAMP program. You can also reference the Texas Procurement and Contract Management Guide for further information on TexRAMP and how it applies. And with that, if you have questions or you need to discuss anything with DIR, we've included our contact information for several of us here at DIR. Please feel free to reach out to us if you have questions about IT procurements or contracts or how it applies. If you have any questions, we are more than happy to answer those for you or at least get you headed in the right direction. And with that, we thank you for your time and hope you enjoy the rest of your class. Thank you very much.